The rich keep on getting richer. The Philadelphia Eagles, with maybe the biggest steal of the draft, one a long time from now, we might be saying, how did we let this happen? Jalen Carter, the defensive tackle from Georgia, with the off-the-field concerns, ends up as the pick for the Philadelphia Eagles. And here to react with us is Mike Gill, who's out in Atlantic City. And Mike, this pick, I am a little stunned, to be honest. They moved up to get him. And as somebody who's a fan of a team in the NFC East, I'm scared. I'm scared of this Eagles defense and what it's going to do over the next couple of years.
Well, Joe, I'm not surprised they moved up. We talked about this on my radio show pretty much all day, that they were going to move up. This was going to be the guy. If he started to move, there was no question that there were so many rumblings about Bijan Robinson to the Eagles, but really it was Carter. And Carter had spoken to the media here. And, he said this is where he liked Nakobe Dean. He talked about playing with him and Jordan Davis. And once all the movement in front of the Eagles started, it seemed like this was another Howie Roseman deal. He has made 11 trades in the first round, more than any other team and any other GM. This seemed like when Bijan went at 8, that's when Carter was going to go, and the Eagles made the move. And I think that news before the draft of them getting that extra pick from Arizona, I mean, what a wild situation that turns out to be. I think that gives them extra feeling that we can give up the pick to make the move one spot and get the guy we really want to get. And it's a Howie Roseman move. And if you're in the NFC East or the NFC, you're saying, man, they just got – look, I don't know where you guys had him on your draft board, but a lot of people thought this was the number – right. They thought this was the number 1 player in this draft. And the Eagles got him at number 9.
Joe, I mean, in us covering the SEC, I know Mike said he talked about it on our radio show, but this is definitely something that we did as well in reference to the entire season with Jalen Carter just being as disruptive as he's been in the SEC. Look, a lot of people, Joe, that you talked to around the SEC, a couple of coaches told me when we spoke with them, especially even at SEC Media Days, about the Jordan Davis, big difference maker in the middle. It was Jalen Carter that always scared them the most. So I really do believe that these two guys getting back, man, we know how dominant that Georgia defense was up front. Now they're coming back together. What a great pick. EAGLESA. How about that, baby?
You got that? And look, Nakobe Dean. Yesterday, Carter did an interview here in town, and he just was like, they got Nakobe Dean. You could see what Dean, I think, he only played like 30 snaps last year. I don't think you got a sniff of what his impact will be. And those 3 guys, Jalen Carter becomes kind of your Javon Hargrave. He'll be the guy who kind of anchors that defensive line. You got Jordan Davis, who can play kind of on the nose now. And you've got Milton Williams, who they drafted in the 3rd round a couple of years ago. And you still have Fletcher Cox here. So they love the trenches. Look, if he doesn't get into that, incident that happened a couple months ago, he's probably the 3rd pick in this draft. I think, does anybody out there think that Will Anderson, a good player, is better than Jalen Carter? I surely don't. And I think if that doesn't happen, he's probably picked 3rd in this draft.
Definitely, Mike, not all 3 levels. The only thing that concerns me, and look, we covered this intensely, is when around the SEC Media Day, around the SEC Championship game, there were some discussions about off-the-field issues. I think if there's only one team in the entire NFL that can calm him down, it would be the Eagles. It's the best place for him no matter what, especially when Nakobe Dean. Now, listen, 2 years ago now it would be in the national championship game, Jalen Carter missed something, and that was Nakobe Dean in his face, and you saw how best he played in that national championship game. So, Mike, if any team were to select Jalen Carter, this is the best overall pick in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it today. The 2 guys we thought at 10 would be Nolan Smith, if he was there at 10, that the Eagles would go that route, and that it would be a trade up if they really wanted Jalen Carter. Those were the 2 guys we had pretty much zoned in on our show. There was some Lucas Van Ness conversation, but really Nolan Smith at 10, and that they were going to move up. And it was a lot because, hey, the synergy and those guys, the relationships that they had with Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean. Look, this defense, They need an impact player. Fletcher Cox is not that impact player anymore. He was an impact player, and they had some very good defenses with him as the impact player. They're hoping that you pair Davis, because I don't think they got the best out of Davis last year. He was hurt. And then when he came back, they had signed Linval Joseph, and then those guys kind of took some reps from him. This is going to be a much different look. I think the Kobe Dean, though, is going to be. I'm so excited to see what he brings because they lost both of their linebackers. Dean is now going to have to step up and be hopefully an impact player. They had not had an impact player at linebacker for a while. TJ Edwards, very good last year, solid, but not an impact player. And Kaiser White was good last year, not an impact player. I think Dean could be a difference maker.
Joe, I'm sorry. Mike, as a guy that went 101 in college with Fletcher Cox, there will be no Fletcher Cox slander in this video all night. As a guy that, I mean, he literally, we went, 60 plays. So no Fletcher Cox slander ever allowed on this show. Thank you very much.
No, listen, he's just not the same player that he was, and they got him to come back. They got him to come back at a discount. The other thing is too, and we'll see what they end up doing at 30. I wouldn't be surprised if they went, all the Bijan Robinson talk, and if I come back at 30, if they make that pick, I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking about Gibbs at running back as the second SEC player. They've been going down that SEC road for a while, and if they can find, they got right now Rashad Penny
and
is
if they do that, if they do Gibbs with Hurts, hey brother, it's over. It's over.
It's 9:30 right now. About 11:22, they'll make that pick, and if I'm telling you now, keep an eye on Gibbs.
Well, we'll see what happens with that second Eagles pick.
My man knows something. My man knows something.
I'm in Atlantic City, man. I'm going to put some money down on that one.
Well, we'll see if Gibbs ends up being the pick, and it certainly will be another steal. Make sure you check out Believe in Eagles with Mike Gill. Much appreciated you joining us, and I'm sure we're going to connect again soon, assuming that the Eagles do make their second pick in the first round. Thank you so much, Mike.
All right, guys, no problem.